Along with individual experts, Surgeon Masters brings you life improvement strategies in 10 minutes. These proven principles and strategies are easy to learn and can be applied immediately, allowing you to practice your best. Here's your host, Jeff Smith.
On this episode of the Surgeon Masters mini podcast, I have with me Dr. Ryan Davis. Ryan is a psychiatrist and performance coach who works with elite athletes and high-performance individuals. He also works with adults, adolescents, and children specializing in psychodynamic, individual, family, and couple psychotherapy. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me today.
So it's great getting to know another coach. It's great getting to know someone who's integrating the concepts in sports and elite athletes, because I think that's a realm that many surgeons can resonate with. So it'll be fun to hear a little bit what you think about some ideas within the field of medicine that you have experience with.
So I think what I would like to speak to today is routine. And I'm thinking about this through my golfers, in which we always talk about having a pre-shot routine and a post-shot routine, which basically means that every single time a player steps up to the ball, they do the exact same thing. They do the exact same setup. They do the exact same waggles with the club, and then they swing. And then after the shot, they do the same sort of hold to finish, and then think about seeing the shot and what they liked about it and what they didn't like about it. And they do the same thing every time. And what that allows for is obviously consistency. And also it avoids any opportunity to have other thoughts that may not be as helpful. And I think as I'm thinking about surgeons and doctors, oftentimes we sometimes go off script. We do things differently than we usually do it for this reason or another. Maybe a patient asks us to do something that is not typical, but it's a friend or a colleague or somebody that we value as a, kind of VIP type person. And it reminds me of a story I heard long ago, which is of a surgeon doing surgery on the Queen many years ago. And the surgeon comes out and speaks to Winston Churchill and says, I'm finished with the surgery, and the intern is in there finishing up suturing. And Winston Churchill goes, "Are you kidding me? That's the Queen of England in there. You go finish up, and there's nobody but the top surgeon in the country that should be doing the suturing other than you." And the surgeon says, with all due respect, I haven't done closing sutures in 25 years, and the best person here to do that is the intern. And I think that story really speaks to the fact that sometimes people will ask us to do things, but they're not always in the patient's best interest. And even if we feel compelled to do it, we really need to kind of stick to our routine, because that's often where the best outcomes are going to happen.
I think this is a great lesson. I think this is right on point to things that surgeons and many other physicians can resonate with. So the being pulled off the routine, especially the VIP, right? I think we get either that external request of a person who's thought to be a VIP for various reasons, or it's even our sense that that person's a VIP, like a friend of a friend or VIP to us in some way, right? I think it does throw our thinking off. We maybe are aware of that, maybe we're not.
Yeah, I think surgical examples might be, the unit is full, but we take them on and we have now less time for all of our patients, including that VIP, or it's a emergency surgery and we tack it on to the end of the day where, 999 times out of 1,000, we would go home because we're exhausted, but we say yes because this person's a VIP and we're in no shape to perform surgery at that time. Or, kind of any other example in which we do something that just would not be done for any other person.
I think a great example is the cutting corners, right?
Yeah.
And the corners we think are, and the other person thinks, oh, well, you're speeding things up for me. It's like, but it's also cutting the corner. We're not waiting for that last lab or that nice little opportunity to make sure all the equipment's ready. Whatever. There's so many examples, right?
Discharging a day early or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So how should we, we can kind of sense, but what's your thoughts of how to manage that better?
I think step one is to have a routine and to know it. And, some of my golfers will come to me and say, I don't know, I kind of just step up to the ball and sometimes it takes me 10 seconds over the ball and sometimes it takes me 3 seconds and then I hit the ball and then I see what happens. I like to look at Tiger Woods. During the height of his career, you could take a stopwatch And his pre-shot routine to the time he swung was within 1/10 of a second every single ball strike for a couple years. And as he got out of his prime, that amount of time changed. Sometimes it was shorter, sometimes it was longer, but it was inconsistent. And so peak performance happens when you have a consistent routine. And so step one is having a routine. Step two is truly knowing your routine. And step three is, if you recognize that you're falling off your routine, doing one thing, and that's asking yourself why. Because sometimes there is a justifiable reason, but you really need to make sure that the answer is not because they want to or because they're a VIP, but that it makes medical sense.
Yeah, I think that's a really key point, because I think we're receiving a lot of data, and especially when we're, kind of in a rhythm of our career where we think we're kind of processing that well, that maybe we don't reflect as much on our process and how we're processing that information. So I think that's really useful. I remember a surgeon that was speaking to me where dealing with a VIP, I think probably a high donor in his hospital, and just the challenge that it was to do a case that was highly routine for him, but it didn't feel like routine.
Yeah, I think it reminds me of Rory McIlroy and his quest to win a Masters. And he was able to win kind of any other tournament, and they were all sort of easy to come by, but that Masters seemed to elude him. And, this year he got it in 2025, but it wasn't without a lot of turmoil to get there. And so I think the more you can treat everything as the process. And again, if you go back to first I make this incision, then I do this, and then I do that. And if you get down to the actual essence of what you are doing and not thinking about kind of what the meaning of it is or who the person is, when you're in the moment, you only have one task, and that's to do the next thing as part of your routine.
So definitely speaks to, I think, a lot of surgeons, and appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us, especially as it relates to high performance individuals and often in high pressure environments. Please just kind of share a little bit what you think the take home message is.
So, yeah, I think just having people, having surgeons recognize what their typical routine is. And that means in the clinic, and that means in the OR, and kind of in other parts of their life where it could be applicable, and trying as much as possible to stick to that routine. And again, if you veer off the routine, the first question is why.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
There you have it. In less than 10 minutes, this is Jeff Smith, along with Dr. Ryan Davis. Until the next episode of Life Improvement Strategies for the Surgeon Who Wants More. Ciao.
Now, take 10 minutes and put your plan into action to practice your best.